Hey there, hobby homesteaders. Welcome back to Peek's Peak. Today, we're going to talk about the costs of building our dream garage. So I'll tell you, in the beginning of our shop build, we decided how big of an area we had to fit our shop in, and we built it as big as we could in that area. And what we came up with was 28 feet deep, 36 feet wide, and then we went 12 foot tall so we could put in our lift. Now, we really just didn't have enough area to go any larger on our dimensions, but we also didn't have the budget for it either. So this was what we could get for our money and our space. The next thing we did was we kind of drew up our own design of what we wanted in terms of entry doors and roll-up doors and all of that. We decided on our dimensions, and I even drew up a materials list from Lowe's. And so I had a pretty good idea of what it was going to cost me to buy all the materials to build the building. We sourced our roll-up doors from Facebook Marketplace. They're brand new doors, but they're sold by a guy who just buys the parts and puts together kits and sells the doors quite a bit cheaper than you can buy them if you go to a garage door supply warehouse. So we were able to kind of figure that into our building design because we knew what roll-up doors we had, and we actually bought those before we got started. But I decided to go by my metal supply store, which was D&R Metal in Wheatland, Kentucky. I told them what I was building, and they said, well, let us run it through our machine that gives you engineered drawings and material lists, and we'll price a kit for you, and you can compare it to what you've already figured up. And I said, sure, that'd be good, because I could have all the materials delivered all at once and just kind of a one-stop shop. So I told them I'd give them a shot. Well, they ran the numbers, and building a building that really structurally is better than what I had designed, because it was engineered, had stronger posts, the laminated 2x6 posts, and the whole works. LVL beams for headers and that sort of thing. Things that I hadn't really planned for when I was trying to just figure up a lumber list for Lowe's. And their cost was still maybe like $1,000 more than the way I had it figured out myself. So that was definitely the way to go. So I bought the kit from D&R Metal, which was run through the program of Graber Post Buildings. If you're anywhere near Indiana, you've probably heard of Graber Post Buildings, and that was who supplied this shop. But when you buy the kit, they give you a drawing list that tells you how everything is planned out. Now, I also have my material list here, and I'll tell you, all of the lumber, all of the metal, all of the screws, and the concrete bags to put in the posts were all figured into the design of this building and included in the cost of $11,260.83. So, one-stop shop. I got everything that I needed, including drawings with a breakdown of framing, post spacing, post depth. Everything that I needed was in this set of drawings that I got with my building. I would recommend talking to your metal supplier and seeing if they offer something the same. Now, the next part of this build, once we got it framed up and we got all the metal on, then we were ready to put on our doors. So we picked up an entry door from Lowe's, and we got just a 36-inch steel entry door. Was $289. Now, it might have been a little more or a little less, but I couldn't remember exactly, so I went to the Lowe's website, and that's what they're selling for now, is $289. So that's what I used in this cost analysis. And then our roll-up doors, we picked up 3 9-foot by 8-foot roll-up doors off of Facebook Marketplace for $400 a piece. So we had $1,200 in our roll-up doors. Now at that point, once we got our doors on, we had the structure sealed up and ready to roll. So it was time to get some lights and some wiring in here. And I have a little bit of experience with wiring and electrical, just doing remodels and working with my dad growing up and that sort of thing. So I've done some, running wiring for sub panels and all of that. So I felt comfortable that I could handle putting a breaker in my box in the house and running the wire over to this building. Got my Kubota backhoe where I was able to dig the trench, so I didn't have to hire any of that out. So I did all of the wiring, including my 100 amp service panel that I put in out here, conduit, all the wiring and outlets and light fixtures in the garage for $750. Now, our lighting is some of the cheapest LED lighting that you can get off of Amazon. I think the light bars, the 4-foot light bars are like Barina or something like that, and you could buy a 12 pack of those for like 60 or 80 bucks. So I picked up those, and I also picked up a half dozen of the little fan-shaped LED bulbs that screw into a regular light socket, and we put those in, and that's our entire lighting system in the garage, and it works great. I mean, our lights, we were well under 200 bucks for our lights, and to light a shop of this size for that, I felt like was a pretty good deal. Now, depending on how far you have to run a wire, it may cost you more or less than that, but we also ran the wiring for 220 outlets. We have two 220 outlets that we wired up for our welder, and we also ran one for a lift drop so that we could wire in our lift when we were ready to do that. So about $750 for our electrical work. Once we had our wiring in place and our lighting, then we were ready to insulate. And I'll tell you guys, I really, really, really wish I could have afforded to spray foam the inside of this building. Would have been fantastic, but that was going to cost between $4,000 and $6,000, and I just didn't have that in the budget. I couldn't do it. I wanted some type of insulation and wall covering, so I went with the cheapest thing I could find, and that is, I believe it's 1/2 inch thick foam board. It's poly foam board from Lowe's. And so it has like a plastic coating over it, so it's not brittle and doesn't break too easy. But I was able to insulate the entire inside of the building for $700. Now, it's not the prettiest, and it's not the tightest sealed either, because we have some wind gaps and things like that. And we even tried sealing them up with this special tape that's like for duct work, and it didn't stick. So that was a little bit of a waste of money. But all in all, we have insulation on the insides, which helps a little bit. In fact, I'm sitting out here today, it's 30 degrees outside, and I've got a little propane heater going in here, and sitting here close to it, of course, I'm pretty toasty, but it knocks the chill off, and that works. We don't have extreme temperatures here in Kentucky where we're at, but it would have been nice if we could have afforded spray foam. But anyway, this is something you can do if you just need to get by on a budget like we did. And then what we did was used scrap lumber, and we've started covering the lower parts of the walls. That way when we bang into it with stuff, we're not popping holes in that insulation. So that's our plan, and it's getting us by cheap. It still looks halfway decent. So that's what we did with that. Once we got our insulation work done, then we were ready to get concrete put down. And I have prepped for pouring concrete, but I've never actually done the pouring of concrete. So we prepped our ground with the Kubota BX and a plate compactor and all that. Packed in our gravel real good. We had a good gravel base here. And actually some people commented, why did I keep putting dirt down? But in those videos, when you see the brown that I'm spreading out, it's actually not dirt, it's creek rock. So that was gravel that we were spreading there. It's just that I learned after I'd put the first load of white gravel down that my dump truck driver could get me creek gravel for just a haul bill for 150 bucks for 20 ton instead of 400 or 500 bucks for 20 ton. So I switched to the creek rock to put my base down. So we have lots of gravel packed in here for our base, and then we rolled out plastic and we put wire mesh down. Now I had some scrap wire mesh laying around. I had some woven wire fencing laying around that I used, and then I bought rebar to put in the section near the lift. We dug out a pit in the lift section that was about 8 foot wide by about 12 or 14 feet long to cover the whole section where the lift would be mounted. And then we dug it deeper. So that section of the pit is almost 8 inches deep of concrete. The rest of it's 5, and then the section where the lift is 8 inches deep with rebar in it. We have fiber reinforced concrete, and so ended up, we ordered 18 yards of concrete, and I figured our rebar, wire, and plastic, we spent about $300 getting it prepped for the concrete, and then it cost me $2,800 for the 18 yards of concrete. So we were able to do our concrete for $3,100, whereas I had some quotes of hiring it done, and it would have been between $7,000 and $10,000 to hire the concrete work done. So I feel like we did pretty good saving money by doing the work ourselves, but I'll tell you, it was very hard work, and you can tell it was done by a first timer. We have some low spots and high spots, and so when you hose it out, we've got some puddles, and that's just kind of something you have to live with if you want to try to do stuff yourself. And so it is what it is. I'm willing to take the gamble on my own abilities and then live with it if I don't perform. So that's what we did. Now, the next part of our garage, which I'm including in the cost because it's something that's almost necessary for a shop if you're going to be working on cars, is our air compressor and plumbing setup. Now, I got a good deal on the compressor because I bought it on a Black Friday sale, and I think I got it for about $700. And then I bought all of the PEX plumbing and fittings and our hoses and connections and all that for about $300. So I'm figuring $1,000 for our air compressor setup that we have in here. And then the last part of our dream garage, which we're including in our budget because we really built the garage around putting in a lift. And we wanted a lift that was heavy enough to pick up my 3/4 ton diesel truck, and something that would be really safe for us to work under. We're not experienced with working with a lift, so we wanted to go overkill on the concrete specifications and overkill on the lift. And this particular lift says it only requires a minimum of 3,000 PSI concrete at 4 inches thick. I would not be comfortable with that. We went 8 inches thick with fiber reinforced 4,000 PSI concrete. And we also had the rebar in it as well. So we basically doubled the specs on everything we were doing. And then the lift we bought is 11,000 pound capacity. I think my truck is under about 7,000 pounds. So I feel like we are in a good safe situation there. And then we also bought us a couple of tall jack stands that we could put one under the front, one under the rear, so that when we get it up in the air, we pretty much never work under it without sticking those jack stands under it too, just to be safe. I don't want to see anybody get hurt with something that we're doing just for fun and for a hobby. Yeah, the total cost on our lift, the Triumph NT011A, I believe it is, was $2,800, including freight to Columbus, where we had to drive and pick it up. Now, I can tell you, it's almost twice that now. It's up over $4,000 to buy that lift. Now, something I should have mentioned back when I was talking about prepping for the concrete was the gravel. I talked about it, but I forgot to throw in the price there. We had about $600 worth of gravel brought in between a couple of loads of creek gravel and a couple of loads of regular crusher run limestone. I think all total we had about 80 tons brought in. We also, the last cost that I wanted to cover was our floor coating. Now, I don't even know whether to include this $750 in the cost of the building because I wouldn't recommend doing it, at least not the way we did. We used the epoxy seal product, which is a 1-part acrylic epoxy or epoxy, I don't remember exactly what they call it, but anyway, it's not a real 2-part epoxy floor coating. And it hasn't held up very well, and of course we chose the worst color in the world to try and help with the brightness in here, so it always looks bad. But that was $750, so take that for what it is. So that brings us to a grand total, including all of those things, of $22,449. From ground preparation to building the building to finishing the concrete, epoxy coating it, putting up a lift, air compressor, the whole works, insulation on the walls, lighting, electrical, everything that I've talked about today. These are all the costs I could think of that were included in our building, $22,449. So if you're building a garage without a lift, you could come in under $20,000 for your dream garage structure. So all in all, I think we did really well. We've got a lot for our money here. And we're super happy with the end product that we got. Is it perfect? No. Would it be good enough for everyone? No. But it's good enough for us because, for starters, we have the satisfaction that we did the work ourselves, and we're proud of it because we created a building that now we can come out in and have a good time together, and that's worth a lot to me too. So hope you guys enjoyed hearing about the costs of our dream garage, and I appreciate you all watching. If you haven't checked out our other videos, if you got any questions about anything that we've done, feel free to shoot us a comment, but also go back to the playlist for the dream garage and you'll be able to see the whole process from start to finish. And then we've got a time-lapse video you can check out where you can see the whole building built in a 12-minute video. So check those out, and I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all have a good day.